years, and major U.S. companies file for bankruptcy amid COVID-19. These and more stories when 284 News returns.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 6th, 2020. I'm Ron Grant.
And I am Javon Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing newscast right here on 284 News. Now, Ron, you know, one of the things we take pride on here at 284 Media is really celebrating the thriving business culture and climate here in the British Virgin Islands. Now, 25 years is a huge milestone, and today we stand to celebrate with a brand that has become what I would call a household name in the British Virgin Islands. Umi Fashions, of course, for all your fashion needs, 25 years in the business. And to top things off, viewers, we have a gift certificate to give away today. So, of course, you want to stay tuned for that later on in our newscast.
Amazing stuff, Jovan. A great example of local business ingenuity and sticking around for a very long time.
Definitely.
Now let's get right into our newscast today. Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, has told Caribbean heads of government and ministers of finance that COVID-19 is placing significant pressure on the Virgin Islands economy as the society combats the spread of the coronavirus. Premier Foy's remarks were part of a prepared statement made at a virtual meeting of Caribbean finance ministers on the impact of COVID-19 hosted by the Economic Commission of Latin America and the Caribbean on April 28. Among other things, the Premier updated the gathering on the health and social impact of COVID-19 on the Virgin Islands and the initial response by the government. He also stressed the importance of grants, soft loans, and concessional financing for the countries affected by the global pandemic that are also preparing for the coming hurricane season. The Premier thanked the ECLAC Executive Secretary, Alicia Barcina, and the agency's Caribbean sub-regional headquarters in Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago for their continued support to the Virgin Islands territory and other associate members countries, AMCs, and ECLA in their pursuit of sustainable development. In an interview with the Department of Information and Public Relations, Premier Foy stated that the meeting was an important opportunity for Caribbean leaders to make the international community aware of economic, fiscal, social, and healthcare challenges in the region, and as well as what they are facing as a result of COVID-19 and the support they need to get through this crisis and recover from it. Premier Foy said, and I quote, "In the BVI, we understand all too well the difficulties of trying to recover from a catastrophic event without the needed financial resources, as we have had to do since 2017 after Hurricanes Irma and Maria." He continued by saying, "I encourage our region's international partners to be as supportive as possible as we face this new global challenge together." The Premier was accompanied by Financial Secretary in the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Glenroy A. Forbes, Deputy Secretary in the Premier's office, Mrs. Olivia Smith Maduru, and Special Envoy of the Premier, Mr. Benito Wheatley. The Virgin Islands is a Vice Chair of the Caribbean Development Corporation Committee, CDCC, which serves as ECLAC's permanent subsidiary body for the Caribbean. Jovan, we see where our Premier here is making an asserted effort to, again, touch base and stay in communication with world leaders, particularly in the Caribbean, as it pertains to the COVID-19 financial impact. I think this is timely and absolutely fitting.
It's definitely timely, and I think Forging Regional Alliance, like we continue to press here at 284 Media, is so important. I know the Premier is very adamant about strengthening those relationships.
Yes.
We're also known as the food basket, the Caribbean, and I know food security is certainly one of the main concerns coming up in light of the whole pandemic that we're all facing. So I'm really happy to see the government moving forward and strengthening those relationships. I remember the Premier earlier on alluding to the fact that soon enough, I know we have been revitalizing, trying our best to revitalize the fishing industry.
Yes.
The Premier did mention that soon enough the BVI would be able to export, possibly export some of that fish. So altogether, I just see it as a step in the right direction, not just for the BVI government as we continue to look at initiatives for import and export, but really being more dependent on each other within the region and less dependent on maybe the United Kingdom.
Indeed.
All right, viewers, we're going to move right along. The government's physical reopening on Monday included the launch of, get this, a customer service care center. Now, the center is a joint initiative between the Office of the Deputy Governor and the Ministry of Transportation Works and Utilities. It seeks to enhance the customer service relationship between the government and its clients by utilizing customer service specialists that serve as the single point of contact for the public to communicate with the government. Deputy Governor Mr. David Archer Jr. expressed his excitement for the initiative while describing the efforts that have been put in place to transform the public service through these types of projects. Mr. Archer said that the center provides a means for the public to receive an elite service during the period of COVID-19 and beyond. Now, the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Transportation Works and Utilities, Mr. Ronald Smith Berkeley, provided an overview of the initiative and said that the center will transform the way that business is done within the public service. He said that the modern approach is welcomed and called on the customer service specialists and the liaison officers within the ministry who will support the operations of the center to embrace the opportunity to serve while being proud to make this contribution to the territory's development. Meanwhile, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Deputy Premier, Mrs. Charlene Dabrio-Letsam, said that she is confident that the Customer Service Care Center and service specialists would provide a level of efficiency that the public has been calling for, adding that public officers should take pride in enhancing the service standard of the government. The Customer Service Care Center, viewers, is now intended to provide different channels for the government to address what is happening throughout the territory by public indication, facilitating the booking of appointments for the ministries and departments that are open for business, providing updates and sharing information on the government's Facebook page. Officers will document and report incidents or issues to be addressed and provide responses to frequently asked questions when members of the public reach out by phone, email, live chat, website forms, or social media. Now, other components of the system are now being integrated as well to support what we previously reported on, the online payment of services in a consolidated matter. So again, the Customer Service Care Center can be contacted at 468-3701. Again, that number is 468-3701. So Ron, for years we've been hearing about this issue. I mean, we've had so many complaints about persons not being able to reach the government line at all. A lot of persons have to wait for quite a long time in that queue to get through to the relevant government departments. Also, in light of that, this issue will now be addressed. But in addition to that, what we find now is a lot of the government departments across the territory are now only being able to, you can only consult them on an appointment-only basis. Yes. And so this will certainly speed up the process. And I know we've been calling for reform, and maybe some of this was in the pipeline prior to COVID-19, but we certainly see a lot of the processes being accelerated as a result of what's happening with this crisis.
Indeed, Jovan, I think it's a huge way of bridging the gap between residents and stakeholders and the government of the Virgin Islands, just allowing access and making that possibility open for persons to reach if they have any questions or concerns as it pertains to the government of the Virgin Islands and the whole customer experience. Not only have they been complaining about the level of access, but also the service when it pertains to government agencies. So I think this is a step in the right direction as we try to forge relationships and also build a stronger civil service.
I certainly agree, Ron. Viewers, we have so much ahead. We have some bids requested for repairs on the West End Community Center. And like we said, big giveaways for Umi Fashion. We're celebrating all that and so much more when we return.
Eco? 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 Everyone is speaking about eco-friendly products. We wanted to take the time to introduce the Eco Island brand. Eco Island is a brand dedicated to providing you with a reliable and cost-effective solution. Eco-friendly products for your restaurant, hotel, bar, office, and home. With takeaway trays, bags, cups, paper straws, cutlery, and cleaners. For more information, follow us at Eco Island 100.
Viewers, welcome back to 284 News. Now, Umi Fashions, that is certainly a name that rings a bell here in the British Virgin Islands when we think about all things fashion. Well, the CEO and brain power behind it, Ms. Deborah Reynolds, compassionately known as Debbie, has had the honor to style international models all the way down to our cast right here at 284 Media, viewers. So now, while the brand has been around for quite a number of years, essentially becoming, like I said, Ron, a household name, it is still somewhat a surprise when we heard that Umi Fashions is celebrating 25 years in the business. This, as we know it, is an incredible milestone, viewers. And so we couldn't wait to sit down with the CEO herself, no other than the beautiful and incredibly vibrant Miss Deborah Reynolds. Listen. Reynolds, just tell us, what does this accomplishment feel like 25 years later, an idea that came into fruition?
All right. Well, it's sort of surreal, of course, for us as a brand. It started out of a suitcase, so to see it come to this, literally a suitcase. I was in college years ago. I'm not gonna say how many years ago, but it would be something before 25 years.
Okay.
And just started shopping for people when I was coming home. I was in Washington, D.C., and I had sisters, brothers, cousins. People would say, hey, I like your style. Hit me up. Get me some of your fashion when you're coming down. Can you bring me some of this? Can you bring me some of that? And I would just wheel my suitcase in on every break that I got from school. And that's how it started, right there.
All right. So basically, you were your brand because, like you said, persons were referring to your personal style and wanted you to style them, yeah?
That's it. That's it.
Now, viewers, that is the CEO of Umi Fashions. Of course, most of us know that beautiful face. And mind you, that is just a mini clip from the extensive conversation that I had the pleasure of having with Debbie. But one of the more interesting things coming out of that interview is not only a genuine passion for fashion, but surprisingly, who she takes pride in styling. Now, many of you know this face. We've seen him around a lot in the streets, and unfortunately, he's facing a very dim reality. But believe it or not, viewers, Debbie placed him within her top 3 favorite persons to style here in the British Virgin Islands. She has found so many ways to incorporate the same man into a lot of her fashion shows, as you know, but that really truly speaking to the compassion, but also the role that clothing plays in your overall appearance, Ron, and of course lifting our spirit. And I think that goes for every one of us here. Now, within my interview, we also spoke about COVID-19 and the changing economy that has forced our local business community into a new direction. But more importantly, some of the positives that were birthed in this trying phase. So viewers, you are encouraged to tune in tonight, 7 p.m. sharp, for my exclusive interview with the one and only Deborah Reynolds, the owner of Umi Fashion, as they celebrate 25 years in the business. Now, Ron, this was a really great capture for me, especially because I think we oftentimes overlook the thriving business culture here in the British Virgin Islands, the private sector specifically. Yes. And like Deborah, the BVI is home to a myriad of entrepreneurs who contribute significantly to the economy. A lot of these businesses provide employment opportunities for a lot of people across the territory. And even now in this crisis, what we find is they're truly embracing creative ways of keeping businesses going, and I think that really speaks to, like you rightfully say, the ingenuity, sorry, yes. But also our resilience and ability to champion almost anything. So huge congrats to Ms. Debbie and her team over there at Umi Fashions. Well, viewers, like I promised, we do have a gift certificate to give away. All compliments of Umi Fashions, like you see on the screen. The first person to answer this trivia question by the end of this newscast will win a gift certificate. Of course, you can head over to Umi Fashions to uplift. But the trivia question is, which 284 Media reporter models for Debbie or Umi Fashions at their downtime? Again, that question up on the screen. Which 284 Media reporter models for Umi Fashions on their downtime? Now, the very first person to respond to that question correctly by the end of today's newscast will be rewarded with a gift certificate from Umi Fashions.
Great stuff, Jovan. I absolutely love that story. The saying goes, time flies when you're having fun, and definitely
Yes.
Debbie has been having fun styling and dressing persons for 25 years, and it's 25 years, and it's very interesting that she spoke about the young man. That his name is Mr. Matthew
Yes.
Hart, and that just shows the level of humility that she carries with her. But we definitely want to wish her the very best, and we want to see who's going to be the lucky winner of that gift certificate.
Certainly.
Continuing on, 8 contractors in the BVI have received invitations to bid for the project to repair the West End Community Center, which serves as a primary emergency shelter for residents in the British Virgin Islands. Officials from the Pan American Health Organization Health Emergencies Program visited the BVI in February of this year and met with representatives from the Premier's Office and Ministry of Health and Social Development and the Department of Disaster Management to review the works proposed on 10 buildings that have been prioritized to be upgraded to the PAHO Smart, Safe and Green standards. The West End Community Center and the Valerie O. Thomas Community Center in Seacoast Bay were identified as showcase facilities. Designs for both facilities have now been completed and are ready to be tendered. Dr. Yatardis Jibri, PAOH and WHO representative, World Health Organization representative for Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean countries, said works on the facilities will focus mainly on non-structural elements such as replacement or strengthening of the roofs, upgrade to windows and doors, flooding, energy-efficient light and water fixtures, and improvements in functionality and ensuring that they are in full compliance with the international shelter standards. Attention will also be paid to improving drainage and security around the perimeters of the buildings. Dr. Gabri said, and I quote, "The emergency shelters will be equipped with emergency kits to support their operations when needed. We are very excited to see the works advancing, even with the impacts that we are facing in the region from COVID-19. Premier and Minister of Finance, the Honorable Andrew A. Foy, expressed his gratitude to the PAHO for advancing the works at a time when the territory is being challenged by the impacts of COVID-19. Premier Foy said, and I quote, "I am pleased to learn that 8 local contractors will have the opportunity to put forward their bids to undertake the repairs. I believe in the skills and the competencies of the people of the Virgin Islands to build a resilient and sustainable BVI for generations of Virgin Islanders to come and further build on." Premier Foy said he welcomed this type of economic activity in the territory at this time when the government is rebooting and reawakening the economy through the skills and competence of its people. He said, and I quote, "This good news of construction at this emergency shelter demonstrates that we are able to move ahead toward planning for a better and brighter future for the people of the BVI, even in the midst of a global health pandemic." He added by saying, "BVI is operating in the new irregular, where we are living and working with COVID-19. Our recovery is still on the move, and we will continue our normal preparation for the hurricane season with the people in the Virgin Islands leading the way." The designs for the facilities were done by PAHO's technical experts who partnered with the local agencies and individuals to ensure that the plans were approved through the local planning authority and that the cost estimates were in line with the local rates. Additionally, Premier Foy thanked the PAHO team and all those who worked together over the last few months to complete the designs. He said, and I quote, "It demonstrates the resiliency of our people and the power partnership with our regional organizations," adding that he looks forward to seeing the works commence on the emergency shelters as the territory gets ready for what is predicted to be an above-average hurricane season, which is just 2 months away. This project was launched 1 year ago and is valued at €2 million. It will include the rehabilitation of selected emergency shelters, the provision of emergency relief supplies for these facilities, training for the public and private sector in resilient, safe, and green smart building strategies and standards, and training in shelter management inclusive of psychosocial care. PAHO has recently completed the interim guide for Caribbean countries in light of COVID-19 pandemic, which includes preparation measures to be taken in emergency shelters during the activation of these facilities, inclusive of basic infection control and hygiene and space management standards. This resilient building project is being financed by the European Union through a formal agreement with the PAHO. The organization is providing technical oversight for the implementation of the project aimed at improving national emergency response and increasing community preparedness. Jovan, such a timely story and such a timely initiative. As we prepare for hurricane season, we see where two of our major community shelters will be receiving much needed repairs since the hurricanes of 2017. They have both been severely damaged and unable to be utilized since that time, and we're so blessed and so thankful that in preparation for the hurricane season, we're now going to be adding 2 more shelters to our list of shelters in the BVI.
Fully agreed, and I think the Premier coined it perfectly. There is power in partnership.
Yes.
Now, Ron, one of the unfortunate thing about this phase that we're experiencing, COVID-19, is that it segues into hurricane season.
Yes.
And like we initially reported on, at least 9 major hurricanes are projected within this new season, or within the upcoming season. So it's certainly something we need to keep an eye on. In light of everything that's already going on, we want to ensure that we are in a state of readiness, especially because we live within that hurricane-prone region. So I'm really happy to see the various organizations coming together to ensure that this is a reality. I know this was also made possible partially by the United Kingdom, so we have to give the relative compliments and applaud every person and every organization that plays a role in this type of activity.
All right, still ahead, major U.S. companies file for bankruptcy. All this and more when 284 News returns.
Is business slow? Cash flow down? Hosting an upcoming event? We can help. Advertise with 284 Media and take your business or event to the next level by enhancing your present marketing and messaging strategies. Allow our team of experts to create a personalized ad that sets your business apart from all the rest. This could be your business or event. So, what are you waiting for? Contact our marketing team at 284media at cctbvi.com. Advertising with us works.
Viewers, welcome back. We're winding down to the end of our 284 Media Newscast. Now, on the international scene, some of the biggest names in corporate America are in danger of going away, like Sears, Blockbuster, and Radio Shack. The coronavirus pandemic has accelerated the demise of companies that were already in trouble as Americans and their dollars stay home amid lockdowns and economic shutdowns. Now, the oil and gas drillers like Whiting Petroleum and Diamond Offshore filed for bankruptcy just last week, with J. Crew becoming the first major U.S. retailer to do the same just a few days ago. J. Crew's lenders agreed to convert $1.65 billion of its debt into equity. It also secured commitments for financing of $400 million from existing lenders Anchorage Capital Group, LLC, GSO Capital Partners, and Davidson Kempner Capital Management, among many others. Now, subject to court approval, the so-called debtor in possession financing, combined with the company's projected cash flows, is expected to support its operations during the restructuring process. Plus, more retail bankruptcies are expected in the coming weeks, with the doors of thousands of stores still locked, even though the states have begun a staggered restart to their economies, Ron. Now, yesterday we also saw, not yesterday, but a few days ago, we also saw Gold's Gym, one of the biggest names in that industry, filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Its 700 gyms worldwide will stay open as it looks to restructure during the coronavirus pandemic that has virtually shut down the entire U.S. economy. The company said that the filing Monday will not have further impact on its current operations and plans to emerge from bankruptcy, hopefully by August. So, Ron, apart from these bankruptcies, we also see global tourism, the global tourism economy continuing to fall apart. Just a few days ago, more sad news. Virgin Atlantic has now made more than 3,000 members of its staff redundant as it struggles to survive the coronavirus crisis. The airline, owned, as we know, by Sir Richard Branson, has cut 1/3 of its workforce and will no longer operate out of Gatwick Airport in order to avoid collapse. Sir Richard previously warned that the airline would collapse unless it receives government support. The billionaire entrepreneur even offered up his very own private island, of course, Necker Island as we popularly know it, as collateral in order to save the company. But that request, viewers, was met by mixed responses. So, Ron, as we continue to manage what's going on the international scene, we see a lot of major brands, big brands across the United States and across the world, essentially being crippled by their doors being shut, by the economy essentially shutting down and drying up a lot of the dollars, a lot of the flow, a lot of the revenue that is needed to support that corporate structure. And as a result, a lot of persons are losing their jobs. A lot of persons are filing for bankruptcy. We were monitoring just a few weeks ago the Paycheck Protection Program, which was launched under the U.S. stimulus program to essentially bail out small businesses and other businesses within the United States. Clearly, that money, about $365 million, completely depleted in a matter of hours or a few days. So it really speaks to the dire needs, and it really speaks to the reality of what's happening within the economy, I think, across the world.
I agree. Jovan, one of the things that's very important to cover with this story is that in months gone by, we actually were reporting on the level of decline in sales only because of the online sales. So we saw where a lot of physical stores across the United States were already closing their doors and more segueing to online services. So now we see with the hit of the pandemic, it's insult to injury, really, where they were already facing a bit of a difficult time in managing and controlling sales. And now, as is expected, unfortunately, and more of this is to come as it pertains to filing bankruptcy.
And a lot of that trickles down to us here at BVI.
Yes.
I mean, again, we import about 90% of our goods from the United States. So, you know, a lot of persons often question, why are we reporting on what's happening in the United States or Europe or the wider nations?
Trickles all the way down to us.
It trickles down to us here in the British Virgin Islands. And that's why it's so important now that we continue to push for self-sufficiency, because self-dependency in this time is really going to separate who survived this from who doesn't. All right, viewers, that is it for today's news roundup. Be sure to like us for daily news updates at 284media.com. We have a lot of written articles over there for you to read upon. You can also follow us on Facebook at 284media. We're also on Instagram and Twitter at 284BVI. All right, my name is Javon Wilson.
And I'm Ron Grant. We'll see you again tomorrow as we deliver your daily dose of local, regional, and international content. We're 284 News, your source for honest and impartial news right here in 284 Media. But Jovan, before we go, you made a promise to the viewers in regards to that gift certificate.
My goodness, I almost forgot. So viewers, we do have a winner. Again, the trivia question was, which 284 Media reporter works for Umi Fashions, or I should say models for Umi Fashions on their downtime? And the answer is me. I do it on a part-time basis. So viewers, thank you so much for taking part in our trivia. Shea Pemberton is our winner. So, of course, Jay, you can head over to Umi Fashions to redeem your gift certificate. And thank you so much for sticking with us, for sticking with Umi Fashions. And you guys continue to have a great day.
Happy Wednesday, everybody. Bye-bye.
We understand that you cannot come to the store and encourage you to stay at home. If you need assistance with bill payments, top-ups, or troubleshooting, we are here to help. Call us at 444-4444 from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, or visit our website at www.cctbvi.com. Click Top Up here or My CCT for top-up or bill payments. Social distancing with CCT.
Are you a business owner? Business owners are very busy thinking on ways to grow. Wouldn't you like a vendor that makes life easier? P3 Paper Plastic Products offers 24-hour WhatsApp ordering. So, whether you're on vacation, at a sporting event, or, I don't know, forgot, P3 Paper Plastic Products has got you covered with great prices, better service,